So we've been talking a lot about how just the church, how we're finding that there's been a mass exodus. Yeah. It's just a mass migration away from, I would say, in fairness, organized religion as a whole.
Oh, definitely.
But more with an emphasis on.
Yeah.
with a concentration on Christianity.
Yeah.
And there's always the question of why. I think that's the first question we have to ask.
Yeah.
And in part, you can a theological response to that would be that the Bible lets us know that there will be a great falling away. The challenge with that is that we have no way of knowing what that timeline is,
right?
When that's happening.
Yeah.
We don't know if this is that,
right?
You know,
right. Some would want to say,
some might say, and I can understand why.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Jesus, talked pretty, Jesus was really clear about what at least the beginning of the birth pains would be like, nation against nation. So if you're just connecting the dots and kind of putting the pieces together, I could see how you could arrive at that conclusion, but we really just don't have enough information to really say that that's what this is. And even if we do, we still have a responsibility. Yeah. And I think one of our responsibilities is understanding the why. And I think another responsibility is thinking about ways in which we can pivot as a church, ways in which if within that why, we find that there's some things that we've done wrong, that we could have done better, or that we should do better. We then have the responsibility to pivot and make the necessary adjustments in order to, by God's grace, win back all the people that have been lost.
That's good.
Because of our own doing, so, man, I'm just looking at the climate. I'm looking at the migration, and I'm beginning to ask, what is the way to win them back? Yeah. And I think this is a hopeful kind of thing. Yeah. Because at the end of all of the assessment, like, this is the problem, here are the issues, here's where we've gone wrong. We do need this moment to say, okay, but all hope is not lost. We all still got breath in our bodies. The church is still the bride of Christ. The grace of God is still on us to be witnesses in the earth. We have been empowered to accomplish such a thing. And so there is hope. We just have to do the hard work. We have to be willing to do the hard work in order to make it happen. And so the question on the table for me right now is, what is the way back? How do we win them, rather? How do we win them back?
Yeah, I think, you stated it. You stated it to me, the first step is analyzing and assessing why they left, whoever they are. And I think in today's climate, one, in terms of organized religion, people have rightly identified that across the board, religion has been used as a tool to forward somebody's agenda, right? So if you're in the Islamic world and you're a woman, you're in touch with some of the what you identify as injustices, the mistreatments, the honor killings, things like that. As a woman in the Islamic world, you may feel like, man, this religion is being used to benefit men, right? Even if you, in some expressions of Islam, if you take your own life, suicide bomber, you get like 6 virgins, right? That's the payoff. Yeah. Well, that only benefits the man, right? Yeah. One of the 6 virgins ain't happy about that. You know what I'm saying? That's only a fantasy for the male. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's just one of the extreme examples in me communicating how on the inside of a thing, you get exhausted with the way a religion can be used to sort of seem like it's for control of a person or a people group, and then for the benefit of others. In America, we have a similar struggle and story, right? So there are people in America who feel like, yes, I agree. Religion has been used like that, and in particular in the black community. So people feel like, or in the brown community, people feel like this country has used Christianity in a way to benefit the agenda of the white supremacist to the enslavement of my people, redlining, Jim Crow, the list goes on, you know what I mean, in a way that has inconvenienced me royally and benefited another people group royally.
Or even going back to the transatlantic slave trade and how Christianity was used to keep the slaves in check.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So across
slaves
the board,
submit to your masters.
exactly.
From the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So across the board in this information age, people are not only pragmatically feeling those inconveniences and horrors, they're also meeting other people and discovering things together. So there is a mass awareness and migration away from religion in general, and as we would have it, away from Christianity. And I think they would point to, you know, a number of these things as the reasons why. So having, like you said, having acknowledged that, now what? I think the deconstruction starts next.
Yeah.
So now we need to break Christianity down to its bare essentials and say, what is it? What is it at the core?
Yes. And let me just add to that real quick. Deconstruction is not the same as destruction.
Right. That's good.
Because I think what happens is those two get conflated.
Yeah.
Like many people's deconstruction ends up in destruction. Like they throw the whole thing away. Yeah. As opposed to saying, no, I'm just trying to break it all the way down to your point, to its truest. Yeah. 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 Like what is a pre-colonial Christianity? Right. I'm just trying to understand that Christianity. Yes. How would that message, what skin would that have been wrapped in? How would I have received that? So I just wanted to
that's good. That's
clarify
good.
that. Yeah.
That's good. And for some, that may be a part of their journey.
Yeah.
And a complete abandonment.
Sure.
We don't want them to stay there.
Sure.
Nor do we even want them to have that experience. But nonetheless, we're hoping that it's just a part of a journey. Agreed. You know, this is a chapter in an entire book or novel, if you. So that deconstruction will allow you to get back to, as much as we can, what raw Christianity is, uncut Christianity. Yeah. You know, obviously the New Testament is written in a context, a world, and presuppositions and assumptions are even in the Bible itself. However, that's what we want to know, though. What are those? Yes. Apart from the ones we added. Yeah. And then we can start there and identify and reinforce to each other that we're not crazy. Yes. You know, I knew it. That's right. They never really said that. And then you get that sense of confidence. You're building each other up on the level of, I'm not crazy. Yes. I knew it. And that automatically starts the psychological and spiritual restoration, because there are things that we've gone through as Christians that have unfortunately been handed down to us in ways that were unhealthy. Just think of the Crusades, right? So these really religious wars, and they were fought against Christian and Muslims. And then, you know, now that baggage is sort of on us because we bear the name Christ.
So now we talk to a Muslim and you talk about Jesus. Right. And they have that context. Yes. Yeah. So they don't just hear the Jesus of, they don't hear the Jesus of the Bible. Right. They hear the Jesus of the Crusades. Yes. And that's not all of them, but
the ones that do.
The ones that do. Yes. That's what they hear. Yeah.
Exactly. And through deconstruction, I get to realize, oh, that was wrong. That wasn't the best way to bring about the kingdom of God. Man, I knew it.
Yes. And the beautiful thing about that is now you feel comfortable enough in your own Christian skin to affirm, let's just use, and staying with the Muslim. Yeah. The example of the Muslim, you feel comfortable enough in your Christian skin to affirm them in that grievance.
Yes.
Like that grieves them. Like your
Yes.
Jesus grieves them, not because Jesus is grievous, but because of how they interpret the Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
How they interpret the Jesus that you're presenting to them.
Right.
They're processing him through the grid of the Crusades.
Yes.
So because of that, it's like I'm saying that in light of that, the Christian should feel comfortable enough to say, bro, like I get it. Like I agree with you.
Yes.
Like you're totally right. Like this is where we dropped the ball completely.
Right.
And that was a wrong way. That was not the way that Christians, in other words, that's not the way of Christ. Even though people did that in the name of Jesus, that's actually not the Christian way.
Yep.
So I think then we can affirm, what you're saying is good, because we can affirm people in those things that create the barriers.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then already the camaraderie begins.
Already it begins. Common ground.
Common ground.
Place.
Especially for non-Christians who we really make them seem crazy when they have any complaint against our faith.
Yeah.
When we romanticize our faith.
Yeah.
And even if we don't make them feel crazy, we so ostracize and distance ourselves from them and them from us. But once we start to say, you know what? You were right.
Yeah.
You were right. We dropped the ball there. I wasn't a part of that, but as my heritage, I have to own that. And then, bam, the camaraderie starts. That honesty builds a bridge. You're building trust.
Yeah.
And the conversation can finally move to the next stage.
Yeah.
You feel me? And I think that's what has to happen when we think about even the social climate and why, for example, the Hebrew Israelites, right? A lot of them are discovering potentially that some African Americans may have Jewish heritage, right? Now, on the face of it, that could feel like an ultimate threat to Christianity, and in many ways it could be a legitimate threat to some people's faith. But is there anything in it that is okay to embrace?
Yeah.
That doesn't pose a problem for Christianity, right? So if you discover some type of way through DNA, through tracing things, you know, I'm African-American, slavery, West Africa,
right? So,
Jews may have migrated there. The you know, the hidden tribe, not the hidden tribes, the
lost tribes.
The lost tribes, some migrated. Man, maybe that's me. I'm realizing there's potentially some Jewishness. Maybe I am Hebrew, right?
Right.
To that extent, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But if a large portion of the Christian community invalidates that, demonizes it,
but we do that out of fear.
We do that out of fear. But the truth that's in it will push me away from Christianity if it's true.
Yes.
Because why deny a true thing for no reason?
And if you deny that that's true, and it's really like if you deny it as truth and it is actually true, now you're doing exactly what Christianity has always been accused of, which is trying to strip me of my true identity.
Yes.
That's the issue.
That is the issue.
If I'm trying to, and if I'm talking to an Asian person, they hear so different. Like in Asia, they hear, and this is from experience. Like the conversation has to be so different because they're processing what I'm saying through this grid of, if I embrace Jesus, I have to abandon who I am.
Yep.
So it's the same. Now it's just kind of inverted with the African American who's coming into a place where they say, I did all the homework. I did all the research. You know, I can't help but see this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm truly convinced I'm of the tribe of Levi. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, and then the Christians come along and say, stop saying that. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Immediately, they're going to say, this is what Christians do.
Yes.
They strip our identity. Exactly. That's what Christians have always done. And then it just perpetuates this vicious cycle of stereotypical cycle You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Of here we go again. It's what the colonizers did. It's how the colonizers impacted the African American people, and now we're doing it to each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, dad, why you want to take that from me?
Right.
And what we're saying is, bro. So, but what I'm saying is like, but a lot of times that's fear, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand that fear. Yeah. Like, it's the same fear that the Pharisees. Now they had some other stuff going, but the Pharisees, the reason why they kept moving the bar, like that was the issue with the Pharisees, right? Jesus said, you keep teaching the traditions of men as the commandments of God, not because they weren't teaching the commandments of God, but because they kept adding pieces on top of it. So they were teaching the commandments of God, but they kept adding pieces on top of it so as to protect the commandments, to keep people from going as far as they could possibly go if we don't keep adding these markers. Right? The Judaizers, that's what they did. So it's like the fear is we do the same thing. Yeah. We're fearful that if we give them that, if we say, okay, I can affirm you in that. That's dope, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the reason why, or sis, like we're afraid of that because of what the next step could be. Because then you can start becoming ethnocentric. Then you can start beginning to think that there's salvific implications to your Jewishness. Then you can start to become Judaizing and trying to impose certain laws on people, circumcision and other festivals and feasts, and keeping the law and the commandments perfectly in order to preserve or maintain your salvation. Then so we start fearing the possibilities.
Yes. Right.
But,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the cost of it is losing people.
We lose people.
That's the cost.
You lose people. Yeah.
You know, and we should be so rooted in confident in what God is doing to save.
Come on,
that we overcome that fear.
Yes.
And then we can affirm people's identities.
Yeah.
And those unique things. So I think as a way back, that's one of the primary muscles we need to exercise is affirming God's unique, what's the word Paul uses in Ephesians 4? God's manifold wisdom. And I've heard some Greek scholars say that word manifold is his diverse, his multicultural, his multicolored wisdom, right? We start to affirm all of these different expressions and colors and beauty that we find within different nations and people groups when we kill that fear of, in order to be Christian, you have to be more American or more political or less, garb wearing, spice smelling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Non-eating. Like you don't have to reinforce that this general revelation, this imago Dei, this natural culture that has been embedded in you since birth. You don't have to demand aspects of that or shaved off. Here's the scary part about that, though. What if there are practices, like some people say, man, I'm learning from my African heritage. Yeah. These certain meditation styles or these certain incense I burn or these certain affirmations. That's where it gets a bit complex. But we should still do the work to figure out, okay, does this square well with Christianity? Are there things about this you can preserve that are just cultural inherently? Yes. Or do they tip the scale into deviating from what Christianity now demands of you? And, I think this is where it would be helpful to revisit the patristics. You think of, coming off of the New Testament, Christianity sort of brewed in Africa, on the continent of Africa. Yeah. It was these North Africans who were dealing with what is called paganism. Yeah. And they had to think through their faith in the paganistic society, and they developed strength and muscles as they helped us understand the nature of Christ. People like Athanasius, they helped us understand the nature of the Trinity in places like Alexandria. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So maybe revisiting, as we deconstruct, revisiting some of those time periods and see how they dealt with allowing their fellow African to maintain some of his cultural things, but finding where they splinter from Christianity. So we might even need history to help us in our modern times.
Yeah. So that's a very good point, because we have to, in the process of deconstructing. So I think the deconstruction has two kind of components. Mm-hmm. It's deconstructing and reconstructing.
Yes.
So we just can't leave it.
Back. Yeah.
But I think part of the process is, it's not getting rid of all conventional categories of right and wrong. It's not that.
Right.
It's not that getting rid of all things binary, because that is kind of what people think when they think deconstruction.
True.
What we mean is stripping things down to kind of, and reassessing, reevaluating. Yeah. And so I think that part of that process is going to require that we identify what all the issues are. Because if part of the issues are cultural, that's part of what you're saying. Well, how do we kind of reclaim some of what's been lost culturally? Yeah. Let's just say it's a person from India, or a person from, what I'm just saying, a person from Africa, or a person from
South America,
and they have very distinct cultural expressions of Christianity that are outside of the westernized kind of experience. Yeah. Well, let's explore that. Let's identify that as a problem. Let's identify some of the epistemological injustices that we've experienced. Yeah. Okay, so that's a problem. So for the cultural thing, we're gonna do our research. We're gonna go back. We're gonna take a look at what we can hold on to, what we need to throw away. The same with the epistemological injustices that have been committed. We identify that specifically as part of what has gotten us to this place where we're ready to walk away. Yeah. Well, we know that some of our knowledge systems were stolen. Some of our history has been revised. Okay, so now we begin to do our research. And again, not looking for what you've believed to be wrong in that process. Right. You see what I'm saying? Because that's a tendency too.
It is.
It can be either confirmation bias. I look for what I know to be right already just to feel good. Or I look for all the ways in which everybody has said this thing is wrong, and I go in that direction. So this process is really a process also that prayer is necessary in. You follow me? Yeah. It's that sense of, let me identify, okay, part of what I'm struggling with is, in our context, there's no space for collective memory. I don't, that's something that happens in Judaism. That's something that happens in Africa, because everything's it was orally transmitted. So there was a collective memory. You see what I'm saying? In Judaism, the scriptures are that their lineages and the stuff we skip. We skip the lineages. We skip like Matthew 1 through 14. We skipping that such and such beget such and such. But that's collective memory. You know what I'm saying? I'm a part of something bigger than myself. Part of what we're struggling with is reclaiming that. We come from it because it's a huge part of our African heritage, but we don't experience it because we've been displaced. But I want to get that back, and I want to experience that within the context of my faith. You know what I'm saying? Identify that is the issue. Now let's figure out how to do it. And I think that this process of deconstructing has to happen in the context of community. I don't think that we should do it by ourselves, because there's a number
dangerous,
it can get dangerous. And there's enough people that feel like us that are wrestling with this stuff in the same way, that want to arrive at truth, that believe what they believe wholeheartedly, but just have some fundamental challenges with some of the key pieces that, you know what I'm saying? But we all want to figure this out for real. You know what I mean? Like, I think it should be done in the context of community. I
agree. I agree. And the last thing is and when that happens and people discover those good things that they can keep from their tribal or cultural thing, and they can move back. They because now Christianity isn't their enemy. To all the good things God has put in the earth that don't contradict him. So there's a path back. You feel me?
So good, bro.
Bing, bing, baby.
goodness.
Things we never said, man.
Yeesh.
It's complicated.
Golly.
Make sure you hit that notification bell after you subscribe. You don't want to miss this complicated-ish.